Hello, I'm back with my M2. I've just fit a catch can to the M55 on the M2. Yeah, I'll go and show you now what I've done, where I fit it, how it's all gone together, and then there'll be a few bits after this just with a few hints and tips and kind of along the stages of fitting the catch can. So, let me just turn this light on. You can see there with the engine cover in situ, there is the catch can. It's an Airtech catch can, and as you can see, it sits reasonably nice in this kind of little gap here between the engine, the strut and the header tank. Some observations that I've made is that although there is, space here for the catch can, it's a lot more snug than I thought it was going to be. When I was doing some research, the pictures and stuff that I've seen online of this catch can, it was shot in a light that made this area look a lot bigger. So for example, now you can see this exit pipe from the catch can going back down to the inlet pipe. It's kind of rubbing, or it's kind of, up against this coolant pipe here. And it's also stuck up against the header tank as well. It's not quite as much room as I'd like. However, because it's silicone hose against silicone hose, there's nothing really that I can see that's chafing. So we should be okay. Okay, so taking the engine cover off, we've got here the PCV. Originally, there was an OEM plastic pipe that came from this fitting here, went down the side of the engine block, down to that elbow there that you can see in the middle with the silver Jubilee clip on it. And essentially what the catch can does is just bypass that pipe and sits in the middle of it. So instead of this just going directly down to the intake, we now go through the catch can and then to the intake. And essentially what the catch can does is capture all of the oily, misty, airy gunk that comes from the PCV when the engine is, especially when the engine is working hard. One thing I noticed when I took the OEM pipe off, and I'll show you this in a minute, is that there was quite a lot of oil, vapor, pooled oil within the plastic pipe itself. So this is definitely going to do its job and collect some oil over the time. So this is the original plastic pipe that ran between the PCV and the inlet. And as you can see, it's in two pieces. And if you look closely, you can see that basically it's gone all like white and powdery, because in typical like BMW style, the plastics just go really brittle after age. And this just snapped in half as I was taking it out. Not only will that catch can enable me to collect all the oily mist that is in this pipe also needed replacing anyway, because that was on the edge of breaking just through use. So yeah, as you can see in this original pipe, it is quite oily. And if I kind of put some cloth in there, it comes out quite wet with oil, both ends. So you can see that the catch can will do its job in collecting all of this oil, because at the moment, well, before the catch can was fitted, all of that oil from the PCV just goes back into the intake and then eventually will coat the inlet valves. So basically, I'll show you, this pipe was obviously in one piece and used to sit between here and then that elbow down there that you can see with the silver Jubilee clip. So that catch can now just sits in the middle of it and collects all of that oily crap and stops it from going back into the engine. To get down there, you've got to get your hands by the side of this coolant line here and here. And if I demonstrate now, there is just no room at all for me to get my hand down the side of the engine block at all. I can just about reach it there, but you've got to have dexterity of a monkey to be able to get your hand down there, undo a silicone pipe, put a new one on, put that Jubilee clip on, hold it in place, do it up. Absolutely unbelievable. So difficult, but we've managed to do it. The other thing that made it a challenge was, and this is a warning for anyone fitting a catch can on an M55, I didn't realise that this, let me see if I can get it in focus, this kind of very small ribbed pipe, I thought it was. I didn't think that had anything to do with this job. In fact, that's just a little hose covering a couple of cables, because on the other side of this kind of elbow connector here that the silicone pipe is now on, there is a little sensor. I think it's like a temperature sensor maybe for the oil, I don't know. Anyway, I didn't realize that was there, and as I pulled the original pipe off, I damaged the connector. I've managed to click it all back together, but that is a warning for anyone fitting a catch can to an M55. Be careful of that wire, because the sensor, as you can see it disappearing underneath, sits underneath this kind of elbow piece. Okay, where are we up to? So I've done the fiddliest bit of getting that silicone pipe hooked up at the bottom. What I've got left to do is trim the top of this silicone pipe so I can attach it to this kind of elbow piece here. So I need to just take probably an inch or so off of that. I also need to fit this 90-degree, or actually it's probably more like a 85-degree pipe between the PCV and the catch can itself. And again, there is another connector to go there. And then the thing I dropped down the engine before, you use the original connector back into the PCV for the top here. I have also broken this. So there used to be 4 kind of connectors, one here, and as you can see, there is no longer a connector there. Again, down to very brittle BMW plastics. It should be okay with the 3. I'm probably going to try and source a new one of these and fit it in the future. But I checked on eBay last night. This doesn't come as a separate piece. It comes with the original OEM PCV hose, of course. And it's about £55. And I don't want to have to pay £55 simply because I broke that bit there. So it's a low, kind of low pressure system. There's not much pressure going through this. So I don't think having one of these broken off is going to be an issue. There's still 3 there, and obviously you've still got the rubber O-ring as well anyway to create a good seal. Okay, so I've trimmed this silicone hose. Really difficult to do whilst it's in situ kind of on the car. You can see it's definitely not the cleanest, straightest cut because I've had to kind of freehand it with a Stanley knife. I did put a nice new kind of sharp blade on it. Which helped kind of cut through like butter, but yeah, it's certainly not the prettiest or the kind of nicest cut going. So might be worth if you were fitting one to do this off the car, if you could somehow measure the length of this hose needed. But like I said, with the routing that it's taken with a bit of bend, I couldn't work that out with it off the car. So yeah, it is what it is. Quick tip as well, you want to make sure that this is reasonably clean. I might just give that another wipe, but there were quite a few of these like fibery bits down there from when I cut it. So yeah, that's reasonably clean now. But yeah, just a bit of a tip just to clean your hose out before you put it back on. It's really been quite an awkward job. I didn't really think it'd be this difficult. Also, kind of, as I said at the start of the video, I'm impressed with the quality of the can and the fixtures and fittings. The kit seems like a good kit. However, it was advertised as a kit that didn't need any trimming of the engine cover, which I still don't think it does. However, the images and the kind of adverts of this kit suggested that there was plenty of clearance around here for the can and the hoses. As you can see, I've kind of positioned the engine cover well where it should be, and although this hose has kind of disappeared behind the engine cover, you can see it sticking out a bit there, and it is a bit of a, well, actually I say a bit of a, like I can't actually push that engine cover into position. It's, the hose is a little bit big, so I'm thinking I might have to trim some of the hose. I say trim some of the hose. Once these fittings are on, they really don't come off, so I think I'm stuck now because I really can't be arsed trying to faff around, take these fittings off. They're interference fittings, and they are unbelievably difficult to get off. You know how cramped this hose in particular is up against the header tank and up against this this coolant hose here. Bit of a tighter squeeze than I would have liked. It's rubber against rubber, so it shouldn't be an issue. But here, so this is the one of the battery cables, I believe. And the natural position for this cable was kind of right in the middle of where this can is now. So this subsequently is now kind of rammed right up against the can and right up against the rocker cover here. Again, I don't think it's going to cause any issues, although I might just move that Jubilee clip round so it doesn't chafe on the heat shield. It shouldn't cause any issues, but it's all just a little bit squashed in beyond what my liking would kind of prefer. So that's the engine cover back in. Obviously you can see the catch can, you know, there. Looking quite neat actually, you know, it doesn't poke out too much. It doesn't look particularly aftermarket, you know, unless you're looking for it, you wouldn't really know that it was there. It does sit in a nice position. And now the engine cover is back on, you know, it's fit okay, but you can see here that the engine cover has had to bend slightly to kind of accommodate that pipe. But you know, the pipe is now sat behind this cover. I can feel it. There you go. You can see it just kind of snaking out there a little bit. But it's not. It doesn't seem to be under any tension or under any pressure. It doesn't seem to be kinked or anything. So yeah, I think that's kind of it. Like I said, you know, you can see there it is a little bit closer for comfort than I would have liked in terms of the fitting, but I can't see anything that's going to chafe, and you know, those bits touching there essentially is rubber against rubber, so that really shouldn't be too much of an issue. Dipstick's all done up nicely. Another tip I found, or another kind of tip to give you if anyone's fitting one of these to an M55, is that these aluminium fittings that these clip into, these are screwed into the can, so just double check that these are screwed in properly. You can just hand tighten them, because they weren't on mine, and I thought I was almost done and realised that these actual aluminium fittings were loose to the can, so just tighten those up with your hand. Make sure everything's hand tight. You don't have to go crazy tight with anything. This is a low pressure system anyway. You know, these Jubilee clips really don't have to be that tight. The actual connection between the rubber hose, the silicone hose and the connection is nice and tight anyway. These are just kind of a belt and brace, and obviously it is a plastic fitting, so don't go too crazy with those because you don't want to snap them. But yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. I need to clear up all this crap, make sure there's nothing anywhere that's fallen down into the engine bay, and give it a test drive at some point. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the catch can install. Like I said, when I took this original PCV hose off, you can see it there, I think. Yeah, you can see it glistening. There was a reasonable amount of oil in here, which means that there is kind of you know, blow-by oil coming from the crankcase, going back into the intake system, which is not good for longevity. You know, the car's done just over 40,000 miles now, so I expect there to be a little bit of carbony build-up on the valves, but there shouldn't be too much. I mean, that's not a horrific amount of oil, but I'm glad that I fit the can kind of now. You know, I'm going to do a few more track days in the car this year, so the car is going to be driven hard, it's going to get hot, and yeah, this catch can should kind of stop all that horrible sludgy, misty, oily air going back into the intake system and then, you know, covering the valves. So stops that vicious cycle. It's just another step in prolonging the longevity of the car, the engine, making sure that, you know, if I've got this car in 5, 6, 7 years time and it's done 100,000 miles, that it doesn't start to eke into the reliability and the power of the engine, because the back of the valves are all coked up. Yeah, so there we go. I'll probably do a bit of an update video in regards to the catch can in a couple of months' time, after I've done a couple of thousand miles with the can in situ, maybe a track day or two, and really giving it a good test. And I'll kind of give a bit of an update as to if I've had any issues, and also interestingly, that I want to know how much oil is in the catch can as well. So yeah, I'm sure that video will be coming up at the channel at some point when I get time to make it. But yeah, for now, any questions, just, you know, throw them down below. I'll try and answer them. I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to this stuff. This is the second ever time that I've fit a catch can. The previous one was on a much smaller 2-litre engine from my Audi S1. So this was a lot more fiddly with it just being a bigger engine in a smaller, well, I say a smaller engine bay, but a bigger engine to try and get my hands around. Yeah. See you in the next video. Cheers.